Nigeria to remain united. Whilst we all want that, we do want it to be restructured to allow for justice, to allow for equity, to allow for the rule of law to come into play. We all quarrel about insecurity. We quarrel about corruption. But if you really get down and to look at these issues, you'll find that at the rock bottom is the lopsidedness of the Nigerian system. This nation system virtually feeds on corruption, feeds on a lack of rule of law, feeds on insecurity, because we have not agreed as a people exactly how we want to live together. And I think that having been decided by Goodluck Jonathan to put this process into play, Mr. President has shown his good intentions by putting together this committee. As we know, yes, quite a few committees are put together by government and nothing is done about their reports. But he did something on other committees before. But when he received this presentation, he not only, even before reading it, he said, I have instructed, prior to reading the thing, the minister to facilitate the process. Now, when you have gone that far, at that level, to make such a proclamation, there's virtually no going back.
All right, but having received the report, the president now, what do you expect? Because he said, do you have any fears? So does that mean that all the recommendations, or 80 or 90% of them will be implemented when the committee kicks off or the hearing starts?
Well, we presented the president with a wide-range of options as per the terms of reference of the committee. And therefore, there were issues like the enabling of the conference itself. Should it be done by an act, or has it got the power to convene a conference? We presented legal positions that were made clear to us. Outside of the public general hearings, we brought in experts, people like Olisa Wekuba Hassan, and of course we had Assembled Hassan on our team, and everybody sat together, and we said, you can't go through the National Assembly, and you could go on your own. The law allows for both options. For both.
Okay.
He now has the right to decide whether he's going to do both or either of the two. That's up to him as president.
But what do you see playing now? Because if the conference starts and maybe he decides to go through the National Assembly because it's part of the options, and of course you know how the place is getting now, it will maybe turn a little more dynamic next year. It might just be bogged down with that part if it decides to go to the National Assembly. So we never really know what to expect. So hypothetically, how will that play out, assuming it happens?
The committee not only consulted with Nigerians generally, but consulted especially with the leadership of the National Assembly, the Senate and the House of Representatives. And we can say right now that even the Senate, for example, has already proposed a motion through its subcommittee on review of the Constitution that there will be, they will take into cognizance the possibility of having a referendum at the end of any such process as the National Conference. Now, this means that even the National Assembly is beginning to buy into the notion that sovereignty really resides in the people. But that is not to say that we are sure of exactly what process the president may choose in partnership with the assembly and other stakeholders. But I believe that the president is determined to leave, if no other mark, this legacy of saying Nigerians will progress further than 100 years, premised on a nationally discourse groundnum, a free people's constitution, and allowing for the element of freedom of speech, freedom of association, and so on. Because we must admit this presidency, this administration has focused on freedoms a lot. That's why we have people criticizing freely the presidency.
Let me jump in. I mean, are we likely to come up with a new constitution at the end of this conference?
It's not impossible, but we are not saying, we did not recommend specifically that it must be a new constitution. And you know, like in every area of our terms of reference, we left enough leeway for the presidency, for the administration to make this decision. So we are not going to speak or attempt to foist anything on either the president or the Nigerian peoples. In fact, when the conference itself begins sitting, it will take on a life of its own. I know that that conference, when it starts sitting, will have a sovereignty of sorts, because they will be representing the people not from a partisan position, but from the issues, the position of those issues that are bedeviling the nation now, and were created by, as I said, the malstructuring of the nation Nigeria. At the beginning, I was only going to say Project Nigeria, but I believe we are a nation. We are about to formalize the nationhood of this nation Nigeria and go out of the realm of impunity, oppression, feudalism, and other indecencies that have been foisted on the Nigerian people.
If I may come in
all these years.
Pardon me for butting in, but you said something about it will have a sovereignty of sorts. And the president has been quoted as saying that by the time this conference is done, a lot of issues will be settled. Now, a lot of things have happened in the country. The question I want to ask is, the area of representation, that's one area that a lot of people have had concerns about. How are the representatives going to be selected? Would there not be rancor? Would they be effective representatives of the people?
Well, personally, I have been, along with a lot of people, as my leaders and partners, I've been on the path or the conquest, the quest of having a national conference hold in Nigeria. Initially, we wanted what we thought was right. We said we wanted a sovereign national conference, but then we were under military rule at the beginning. We also said it must be by ethnic nationalities representation. But all these have been highfalutin ideals and ideas that were developed by us based on what happened in maybe Benin and other countries. But when the committee went round, we learned a few new things about Nigeria. For example, nobody knows how many ethnic nationalities there are in Nigeria.
Did you find that out?
Yes, because
really?
at every point there, somebody came forward, or some group of people came forward and said, we are an ethnic nationality, and we said, okay, so what's our population? And they said 3. We are only 3 of us speak this language, and by the definition of ethnic nationality, that means we are an ethnic nationality. We brought in experts, and those experts gave us figures that range from 300 plus to 700 plus ethnic nationalities. So even I had to readdress my position of having demanded that we must be represented by ethnic nationalities. And I think the committee, however, addressed this, because whatever we do, we cannot void away the fact that there are ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, and they really constitute the bedrock of the nation. However, whether they will be thrown up whether these nationalities will throw up directly